Scotty, 2 decades of startup leadership experience.
Man, I know that makes me sound even older than I am, man.
Cool. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to our session. I've watched a couple of the sessions today. Someone says can't see Scott. That's KD. So we'll figure it out.
KD can't see me. That doesn't surprise me with his technical capability.
Unbelievable. So looks like, yep, most people can't see you. So here's sort of the deal. Scott and I came together. Most of you might know, or some of you might know, that we run a Thursday happy hour. So we were a natural couple of guys to pair up together and talk about some of the things that we really enjoy. Most notably, building a reputation on LinkedIn, building a brand on LinkedIn, doing it through some really certain and uncertain times. And unlike some of the other folks that have been on the call so far, Scotty and I did not prepare slides. So we're just going to ad hoc it and talk a little bit about, what we see working in these times. Is Scott still on, by the way? Scott, you still on?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you're just frozen. You're frozen as a picture, so I can't tell that you're actually on. But I think I'll just kind of kick it off, and then Scott, I'll kind of turn it over to you as well to talk a little bit about it. But as you go through these different sessions today, you see guys like Scott, you see guys like myself, Jeremy, who is just on, Kevin Dorsey, who's going to be on. And there are a lot of really good sales leaders, good AEs, good SDRs. But you might wonder, like, why are we the guys who got an opportunity to present today, and what sort of benefit will that have for us? And I think the real reason is throughout the last year or 2 years, we've spent a lot of time building our brand, building our reputation online. There's lots of great sales leaders, lots of great salespeople, but by focusing on that, we've been able to unlock some really fun and unique opportunities like the one that we're all participating in right now. And so what I thought Scott and I would do today is talk to you a little bit about how we approached building brands, building reputations, not just in this really challenging time of COVID, but also in some normal times, because I think there's a significant benefit to doing it. So Scott, I think I'll turn it over to you, man. And I'd love for you to open up and kind of start by suggesting, why did you start building the brand that you have today? When did you start? How did you start? I'd love to sort of get your backstory on that.
Yeah, sure. I really started focusing on this as a priority about 4.5 years ago, actually. I had been a VP of sales and SVP of sales a few times. And just from the couple thousand connections that I had on LinkedIn, I started to pick up some consulting opportunities, which led me to kind of form my own LLC and kind of, get some side hustle money coming. And when that started happening, I realized, wow, maybe I do know what I'm doing here. And I've been doing this for a long time. And maybe there is something to me sharing my ideas and my experience. And so I decided, I actually got challenged by John Barrows actually to, make a point to try to have a bigger presence on LinkedIn. So I did it in a sprint. I mean, I literally was connecting with like 50 to 100, 200 people every single day. And while I was connecting with all these people, I started to just post content, and I wasn't thinking about it. There was no real strategy behind it. There was no, guides to how to post on LinkedIn and things like that. 4.5 years ago, it was just me trial and error and just experimenting, and it was designed for me to sort of help recruit in particular markets that I was in. At the time, I was trying to recruit and build teams in 3 or 4 different markets across the country. So I thought that would help. And then I think part of it was strategic to see, can I, start to pick up more consulting engagements from it and things like that. So that was how, I got into it and why I got into it. What about you?
Yeah, my story is pretty similar. So I was working with Kevin, who's on this call, KD, Kevin Dorsey, and I didn't have any brand at all. I was just kind of meandering in the background at Patient Pop, working with KD at the same time. He had this really big brand, and I thought, boy, I could probably find some more opportunities that way, not just for myself personally, but also for my team. You know, the bigger brand you build, the better reputation you have over the course of time, the more prospects that you'll uncover. And so when we talk about this, we're not talking about this in finding consulting clients or finding people on the side. We're talking about this in your core business right now. And I think the reason that it's really important for folks to focus on this is because right now, cash flow for your prospects, for your potential customers, is likely low. And you're going to be competing for every cent in every dollar that they're currently spending in this really challenging time. And one of the easiest ways that you can make yourself the top dog in terms of getting people to spend their money and their dollars with you is to stand out as someone who's going to add tremendous value to your customers. And kind of a lot like what Jeremy talked about in the last thing, adding value all the time. What does that look like? It means being an expert. And part of being an expert and part of helping your prospects and your customers reach their goals and solve their problems is to establish yourself as a thought leader. And part of that thought leadership comes from building your own brand and building your own reputation. So what I thought I might start with today is how I kicked off my exercise for going out and creating a brand so that my prospects, which are going to be the same as your prospects and your customers, come to me as the person they're looking for when they have challenges. So the first thing that I would recommend.
Hey, Justin, so, although, you know, I love staring at this amazing freeze frame of Scott here, which he managed doing a nice, it's a nice photo. It's not awkward at all. So, however, I think the way to fix it, I've tried turning on and off your video and it's not working. So I think the way to fix it, I'm gonna push you back to, I'm gonna push you back off and then bring you back on. And then while I'm doing that, Justin, you can go and continue on what you're doing. Okay.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. So here's how I might recommend starting. Everybody, all the participants who are watching this today have value in expertise in something. It doesn't matter if you're talking about someone who wants to reach your level or one of your prospects who wants to solve a challenge. You have the expertise to help them do that. And in order to go out and build a thriving reputation, build a thriving brand, you have to be able to talk about that confidently. And part of that is your professional brand. And the number one place where that lives is something like LinkedIn, right? And when I go and I look at people on LinkedIn, I see so many mistakes that don't establish their personal branding, don't establish them as a thought leader, don't show their expertise. Things like unprofessional headshots, a photo of you in your car with sunglasses on, no banner telling your customers, your prospects, what you do and how to get a hold of you, no description in your about section of what you actually solve. So the first thing that I would do is I would work on what I call your sales page. And that's what I consider my LinkedIn profile, and it's how you should consider your LinkedIn profile or other social media profiles. That is, establish a sales page. And in this world of scrollable times where people have very limited attention spans, what I would recommend is starting your funnel at the top. And at the top of all of your different branding profiles or social media profiles is an opportunity to use an image to tell your prospects what you do. A lot of people use images of empty office chairs or an image from Unsplash or something they pulled off. That is all wasted space. So the first thing that you want to do with your banner image is you want to tell people who you are, who do you work with, what do you help them do, and how can they get in contact with you. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, my banner image, you're going to see I work coaching SMB SaaS founders to accelerate their revenue toward 50 million. That's who I am, that's who I help, and that's what I help them do. And if you want to get a hold of me, it's a very simple web URL, or it's right below in my featured section. So that is the top of your funnel. It's a marketing funnel on LinkedIn. As they move down through your profile, they're going to want to see a professional headshot. Is this person I'm dealing with a professional? If you can't afford an expensive headshot, grab your best buddy who's good with an iPhone camera, throw on an iPhone app that allows you to blur the background a little bit and snap away, make it really simple. And then as you drill down a little bit further into your profile, you're going to want to start talking tactics. What is it exactly that you help people do down to the most granular level? What do you do? How do you help them? What are the specific things they'll be taking away from a working relationship with you? And again, how do they get in contact with you? So I treat my LinkedIn profile as a total marketing funnel. And then every time I go out and I create content, whether I create content on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on YouTube or on my website writing a blog, I drive everybody back through my marketing funnel. And I, much like Scotty, have been able to build a consulting firm that is purely inbound and requires no outbound. And you can do the same thing with your customers. If you build from the top down really effectively, you'll be able to rope your customers in, get them through your marketing funnel, down into the featured section, and scheduling an appointment with you. So that to me is a huge way to establish your brand from the top down in these really trying times. Scotty, I don't know if you're back on the call, but I'd love to see if you have anything to add to that. Is Scott off?
I think so. I think he's frozen. Yeah. So you're a one-man show now, Justin.
Cool. Rock and roll. I'll ad lib a one-man show. So that's my first tip is get your foundation right. Your foundation is so critical to building your brand. The next thing that you want to do is you want to hone in on your target audience. So for example, at my last job at Patient Pop, we sold to healthcare providers. But if I just churn out content focused on healthcare providers all the time, it may not resonate with a dentist the same way it resonates with a chiropractor. And you can use these exact same examples in your personal world. So if you sell to IT specialists, right, and you want to use your social media profiles like LinkedIn, or you want to use your reputation or your brand to have those conversations, you need to go hyper niche with the value that you're creating. Your company's probably creating white papers, case studies, all the different things that you need to drive audience engagement, but can you take it down even further? Can you find that one prospect that personally buys from you all of the time because you feel hyper confident having that conversation? So for example, in my previous role, I loved selling to integrated OBGYNs. So I always talked to my team and said, create content that is highly resonant to this very specific group of people and do it on a very regular basis. And if you add value to them, drive them back through the top of your funnel and move them down your profile, you're going to have a really, really good opportunity to stand out from your peers and the other folks that they're talking to during the buying cycle. So that is really my next tip is to make sure that you focus on a very niche group, and the more hyper niche that you can get, the better. Allie, did we get Scott back? I thought I saw something happen there.
No, he came off, so I'm waiting for him to come kind of pop back on so I can push him over. So I'm sorry about that, Justin.
No worries. So after having established your foundational profile, and after having found your very specific niche, the next thing that I would start thinking about is, how do I want to expand my reach? So for me, most of you may or may not know me from LinkedIn. If you don't, welcome. That's my core platform, is LinkedIn. But I'm starting to figure out how to move my prospects, and my prospects are founders who are growing early stage businesses. My goal is to move them cross-platform and to really be everywhere that they're playing. So once I had established my LinkedIn presence, I took all of that, I copied it, and I moved it to all of the different places that I interact. So the next up for me was Twitter, where I have very little engagement. And I went from having 300 and so people that were engaging with me to over 1,200 by starting to move my LinkedIn presence over to Twitter. And so I'm getting cross-platform. You can do that with your prospects, with your audience. The more places that they play, the more places that you want to be. Once you're in different social media channels with a consistent theme, same header, same headshot, same who I am, who I work for, what I help them do, and how to contact me, that's got to be consistent across the board. Then you can start driving it to places where you're adding longer form content. So the next sort of blocks that I stacked up on top of Twitter and LinkedIn were my personal website, where there's much more long form content, where people can spend a lot more time getting to know me and who I am. And I also moved it to things like Medium, where I write long form blog posts. And what do I do with those? I drive all of that traffic back to my social media and my website. So there's this cyclical effect of making sure that anyone who's considering working with me is running into me no matter where they're finding me and they're seeing the same thing in the same message no matter where they interact with my brand. So that to me has been really, really helpful. Scotty, I just nailed the whole thing. It's all done.
You didn't need me. You didn't need me at all.
Cool, man. Scott, what I was telling these guys about was just sort of like my process, building my LinkedIn page, picking my niche, who I wanted to target, writing my content, moving it across different platforms. Would love to hear some of the things that are really working for you to get yourself in front of the prospects that want to hire you for your job.
Oh man, I apologize to everybody. I don't know what just happened. What works for me? I mean, what has worked for me specifically is just to try to be available as much as humanly possible. I manage my LinkedIn profile religiously. Like I Hawkeye it all the time. So on top of just posting content consistently, I respond to everybody, and I get hundreds of messages a day sometimes. And so for me, one of the things that I've tried to do is, Jeremy before was talking about adding value. To me, I add value by just being available to people and being responsive to people. And one of the things that I think everyone has the opportunity to do in order to stand out right now is to just do the damn thing that you said you're going to do. And everybody says, oh, let me know if I can ever be helpful, or shoot me a note if there's anything I can do for you. And, I think people have the best of intentions, but they don't really deliver, or they don't follow up on that. And I really try to go out of my way and make a point to follow up and to deliver on all those kind of things. Right. So I'm not above anyone. I take phone calls from people all over the world in any particular role, people who ask me for, time and advice and whatnot. If I can't have a phone call, I'll tell them, hey, shoot me a quick note, send me a text, or shoot me a LinkedIn message. I'll get back to you. So I think just being available has really helped. That helps me build, relationships, and those relationships in time potentially turn into business, or it turns into some kind of, referral from somebody else. Somebody knows somebody that knows of me, and that kind of thing. And right before I got kicked off with all sorts of technical difficulties, I heard you talking about, our event that we've been doing for 7 weeks straight now, every Thursday night, our Thursday night sales event. And I've been trying to do as many of these kind of events as possible. So I'm trying to stay visible. I'm trying to kind of lead from the front in a sense. I was somebody who was, taking this pretty seriously, the whole COVID thing, really early on. Anybody who knows me or has followed me for a while knows I've had all sorts of health troubles for the last 20 plus years. And, I'm immunocompromised and everything like that. And so, I've tried to talk at various times about, what it's like, for me and from my perspective, and, talk about how jeopardizing our health for certain things is not worth it. And so I try to be around, man, whether it's our Thursday night thing or an event like this, or, some other sales summit or some other webinar, or all these different podcasts and things like that. The other day I published my schedule on LinkedIn, got a big reaction from folks, got attacked a good amount, which wasn't too fun, but the intention of it was just to show, like, this is what it's like right now for me as a solopreneur, running my business every single day, and using my brand and my platform, if you will, to try to help as many people as possible. And I'm not doing any cold outreach at all. I came out early on. For me personally, I'm blessed to not have to do that and not be in that kind of position. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I just felt like for me and what I do, it wasn't the right time. And so instead, I'm just trying to, help everybody do as many free trainings as possible, personal coaching and trainings, as many of these kind of events as I can. And so that's what my strategy, right now has been all about. So
and I'd love to add something to that I think is really important, which is you all have something to give. Every single person on this call has something to give. You have knowledge, you have expertise. Like the amount of people that come to me and say, I want to build a reputation online. I want to build a brand online. I want to be in front of my prospects, my customers, or just some other group of people that I'm excited to do business with in the future. The number one thing that keeps people from doing it is fear. And Scott said something earlier. He's like, I shared my schedule and I got a lot of stuff, but I got attacked a lot too. Happens to all of us every single day. Like we put out something, 70% of people like it, 30% of people hate it. If you have thick skin, do not worry about that. Go out and find the thing that you are an expert on. How small, it doesn't matter, and start talking about that on a regular basis. You will be super shocked to find out how many people want to know the stuff that you know. And I made a mention of this on a show yesterday where I said, I grew a business to 50 million in recurring revenue. That's pretty good. There are guys who have done it to 100, 250, and 1 billion. And if I looked at every one of those guys and said, I shouldn't turn out content because they've done it better than I've done it, then I never would have created anything. But there's a lot of people who want to go from 1 million to 10 million. And so that was that was helpful for me. So don't think about like who's done it better, more successful. Like don't compare yourself to those folks. Find the one thing that it is that you like talking about and that you're really good about and talk about it all the time. You will build a brand, you will build a reputation, you will become a thought leader by being consistent and by being patient. If you followed me for a long time, you know I preach consistency and patience.
And I think if I was going to add to that, I would say that authenticity is huge as well. You know, don't be somebody you're not. You know, Justin was just saying, pick one thing that you're knowledgeable in and really go deep in that particular area. You know, I've never been a part of a publicly traded company. I've never sold, you know, $10 million deals before. So you don't see me talking about what life is like at a publicly traded company or what it's like to close $10 million deals. I talk about the things that I've been through, right? And I think a lot of people who are in sales have been through a lot of shit, to be honest with you. You know, I wrote a book a couple years ago, and the first line of the book says, sales is the garbage can of jobs. It's like where all of us get dumped when we don't know what else to do with ourselves because we weren't good enough or weren't smart enough or got, you know, thrown to the side by all these other people who, you know, tried to keep us down or whatever. But just be authentic, you know. And just be authentic, be who you are, talk about the things that you know about, and be honest about all the things. And I just don't think that it's optional anymore, building a brand. I think that is absolutely part of your job now. It's not enough to just get a sales job and, you know, go work for your company alone. You know, you have to build a brand. Building a brand will help you sell if you're working for somebody else. It'll help position you should you decide to go into business for yourself. As you move up the, you know, leadership chart, it helps you from recruiting to, you know, networking to getting insights from other people who've been in similar roles as you. And, you know, that distance between idea and action just needs to shrink. You know, Justin was talking about don't overthink it, basically, like just kind of get started. And I talk about that all the time, the distance between idea and action. And so, you know, idea comes into your head, put it down on paper. You know, everybody has something interesting to share, and whether your medium is, you know, written form or taking a video while you're walking down the street, it doesn't matter. Do what works, you know, for you. Find something interesting to share and just keep doing it. Keep practicing it, keep rehearsing it. Keep reaching out to other people. You know, you never know who you're in a position to help, and you never know who might be able to help you. So the order of operation for me is use, you know, Justin said sales page, but like your LinkedIn profile is you. It's not even your resume. Like this is you. This is who you are. So you want all your information there to be updated and be accurate, right? Then for me, it's time to start growing your network. Now I start reaching out to people who I might be able to learn from, who might be able to hire me someday, or people I've worked with before. Then I start engaging with other people's content. So that means taking a look at other people's feeds and liking posts and commenting on it, and not just commenting like, hey, great post, Justin, but, you know, commenting and saying something from your experience or asking a follow-up question that gets the discussion going. That's a great way to practice. And that builds up to creating your own content. And so that's the order of operation for me, is keep your information updated, grow your network, start engaging with people, and then create your own content. And don't overthink it. Just get after it and get started.
I'd like to leave everyone with one or two takeaways that I think are helpful. If anything, I just would like to see you get started, right? And so think about it this way. You already have a brand, whether you like it or not. So either you build your brand or your brand builds itself. right? I would like to control mine, so I build my own, right? And there's a conversation happening about you online somewhere. Whether or not you want to participate in that conversation is up to you. So my answer for both of those things would be control your brand and participate in the conversation. If anything, just get started. It's not scary. Do it for 30 consecutive days, put out information that can be helpful, and it will likely change your world the way that it has absolutely changed mine. From being a startup executive to going out and working on my own business from home, LinkedIn and my brand is the only thing that made that happen.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. LinkedIn not only enabled me to build my own consulting business, but it also enabled me to build my surf and sales business, which is a micro sales and leadership conference. We've sold out 4 events and we were planning to do a couple more this year. Those 2 businesses are built solely on the backs of my brand and the content that I've put out there, and the people that I've networked with, and hopefully the people that I've added some value to their lives.
Cool. Well, I'm 5 minutes late for a meeting, so I'm going to probably bounce on out, but I really appreciated everyone listening. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with everybody. And you can check me out on my website, theofficialjustin.com.
Yeah, same here. Everybody reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to help. Apologize once again for the technical difficulties on my end.